It be bitches that will really make up in their head they beefing with you. You ain't even bad, bitch, and you think I'm beefing with you? Come on now, with your raggedy ass. Like,
can somebody please tell me what is going on here in Minnesota? It's currently Saturday, December 23rd, 9:56, 9:37, 46 degrees and no snow. I don't know what they put in that water for it to not evaporate up and to bring back down snow, but something definitely off. We are in Minnesota. Why the f is there no snow? 2 days before Christmas. The government, well, what I mean by this is Hillary Clinton. Every time I post a video on TikTok and I go through my likes and my views and I see everybody who watched my shit but didn't like it, I be going through that motherfucker like, she's a hater, he's a hater, she's a hater. I knew she was a hater. I knew. Unadd, delete, block.
On August 15th, 2024, in Maplewood, Minnesota, a young woman named Zakirrah Ziggy Anderson was standing by a parked car. Moments later, she was hit by a speeding Dodge Charger, dragged across the street, and left to die. Zakirrah Ziggy Anderson. The driver was Ashley Renee Couch, with a long criminal history. She had multiple theft convictions, assault charges, child endangerment, and even aiding a drive-by shooting. She was driving that night without a valid license. She didn't stop after hitting Ziggy. She left the scene. Earlier that evening, there was a shootout between rival groups in St. Paul. The violence didn't end there. The groups agreed to meet at Wakefield Park. They went live on social media. People gathered. Arguments escalated. Couch was seen on video threatening the crowd. Witnesses heard her say, "I'll hit y'all's ass." She got into her car and drove straight toward the group. One woman was hit and survived. Ziggy didn't. The car dragged her body several yards before Couch drove off into the night. The crime was recorded on video. Police tracked Couch down. She was arrested and charged with second-degree murder and assault with a deadly weapon. This is not a story about accidents. It's a story about choices. A digital argument, a deliberate attack, a predictable death. This is how one online dispute turned into homicide on a public street. This is the full story of every move, every brutal detail. If you're captivated by real crime stories that peel back the layers of truth, make sure to hit that subscribe button. Your support means the world to us as we uncover real cases, raise awareness, and give a voice to the voiceless. Before we dive into today's story, we want to hear from you. Where are you tuning in from? And how do you feel as the story unfolds? Welcome to Deadly Crime Unmasked, the show where we expose the shocking crimes that rip through communities and the chilling secrets lurking behind closed doors. These are real people, real events, real consequences. Don't forget to subscribe and activate notifications. You won't want to miss the gripping story that's coming up. Now, let's dive in. Zakirrah Renee Anderson, also known by her nickname Ziggy, was a 23-year-old woman living in Minnesota. She was not famous. She was not rich. She was not involved in crime. Ziggy was a regular young woman, just like millions of others across America. She worked, she cared for her family, and she had goals for her life. She had plans, and none of them involved violence or trouble with the law. Yet, in August 2024, she became the victim of one of the most shocking and avoidable crimes that year. Ziggy's life was built on taking care of others. That was what she did for a living. She worked as a caregiver. Her daily work involved looking after elderly or sick people, those who could not do everything for themselves anymore. Caregiving is not easy work. It's tiring, it requires patience, and not everyone can do it. But Ziggy did it because she believed it was important to help others. That was the kind of life she chose. It was quiet, responsible, and far from the world of fights, arguments, or criminal behavior. People who knew Ziggy described her as calm. She was not someone who liked trouble. She was gentle in how she spoke, how she moved, and how she treated people. Those around her said that if you needed help, Ziggy would be there for you. It didn't matter if you were family, a close friend, or even just someone she met through work or school. She didn't care about fights, gangs, or social media drama. All she wanted to do was work, support her family, and build a good life. Ziggy came from a family that loved her. She was not alone or isolated. Her family was supportive of her dreams. She was also surrounded by friends who knew her as a caring and peaceful person. Those who spent time with Ziggy saw her not just as a caregiver at work, but as someone who carried that same helpful attitude into her everyday life. Whether it was running errands for a family member, helping a neighbor, or just showing up when someone needed support, Ziggy was there. Beyond work and helping others, Ziggy had dreams like anyone else her age. One of her goals was to build a better future by going further in her caregiving work. There were talks of her wanting to train more, maybe to become a nurse or move up in the healthcare field. She wanted a peaceful life, a good job, and a better future. These were not dreams of luxury or fame. They were simple dreams. Have a career, take care of herself, help her family, and live peacefully. It's important to understand that Ziggy was not a gang member. She was not involved in any kind of criminal activity. Her life was not about violence, not about fighting, and definitely not about making enemies online. Unfortunately, she was caught up in a situation that had nothing to do with her. She wasn't part of the argument. She wasn't part of the fight. She was just there, wrong place, wrong time, standing near people who were involved in a conflict that had nothing to do with her life or her choices. Zakirrah Ziggy Anderson was a calm, gentle, hard-working young woman. She did not deserve to lose her life the way she did. She was not looking for trouble. She was just trying to live a simple, peaceful life. And yet, because of someone else's decision to turn violence into murder, Ziggy's life came to a sudden, violent end. Not because of anything she did, but because she was standing in the path of someone else's anger. The person responsible for the brutal killing of Zakirrah Ziggy Anderson was a woman named Ashley Renee Couch. She was 34 years old at the time of the crime. Ashley was from St. Paul, Minnesota, and by the time this deadly event happened, she already had a long and serious criminal history. Ashley was not an unknown person to law enforcement. She was not someone who had just made one mistake in life. Her name was already known by police, judges, and prosecutors. She had been in and out of the legal system many times before the murder of Ziggy took place. The justice system knew her. Officers knew her. She was not new to crime, and she was not new to violence. Her criminal history showed a pattern of dangerous behavior. Ashley had been arrested and charged multiple times for different types of crimes, from theft to violence to actions that put other people's lives at risk. Here's a detailed list of the crimes on her record before she killed Ziggy. Ashley had been arrested and charged 6 different times for theft. This means she was caught stealing or taking things that did not belong to her on multiple occasions. These thefts showed a habit of ignoring the law and taking from others without caring about the consequences. Ashley also had 4 separate disorderly conduct charges. Disorderly conduct usually involves acting in a loud, disruptive, or threatening way in public. These charges showed that she had a long history of causing trouble in public places, disturbing peace, and showing disrespect for the safety and comfort of people around her. In addition to theft and disorderly conduct, Ashley had 4 assault charges on her record. Assault is when a person physically attacks or tries to physically harm another person. These 4 charges prove that she was already involved in violent behavior before the night she killed Ziggy. She had shown more than once that she was willing to hurt people with her own hands. Ashley was also charged with making terroristic threats. This means that she had threatened to commit violence or do serious harm to other people. Making these kinds of threats is a serious crime because it shows a person is capable of causing fear and planning violence. These charges are not given to people who make small threats. They are used when someone says or does something that could seriously scare or harm others. Ashley was not just involved in small crimes. She had been charged with aiding a drive-by shooting. This means that she had helped or supported people who carried out a shooting from a moving vehicle. Drive-by shootings are extremely dangerous because they put many innocent people at risk. By helping with one, Ashley showed that she was connected to violent groups or individuals who were ready to use guns in public spaces. One of the most shocking parts of Ashley's criminal history involved child endangerment. In one reported case, Ashley left her newborn baby alone, abandoning the child in dangerous conditions. Child endangerment is a very serious crime because it shows a total lack of care or responsibility for someone who cannot protect themselves. Leaving a newborn alone shows a level of neglect that puts innocent lives in danger. It also shows that Ashley did not have respect or care even for her own children. The events that led to Zakirrah's Ziggy Anderson's death started with a simple online argument on Snapchat. It was not a random disagreement. The argument involved two groups of women from the same area in Minnesota. Ziggy was not the main person involved in the online fight, but she was connected to one of the groups. She was associated with friends and people who were part of the dispute. The other side of the argument involved Ashley Renee Couch, a 34-year-old woman with a known history of violence and crime. Couch had friends and followers who stood by her side. The argument on Snapchat became intense, with both sides exchanging insults, threats, and challenges. The insults were personal, and the threats became serious. Members of both groups shared videos and written threats on Snapchat, daring each other to meet in person and settle the disagreement. The argument online didn't start on that day alone. It was part of an ongoing rivalry between these two groups. Some of them had issues with each other that went beyond just words. There were rumors of disrespect, past fights, and problems that had been growing for some time. Snapchat became the platform where they chose to express their anger and challenge each other. On the night of August 15, 2024, at around 9:20 p.m., a violent crime unfolded at the intersection of Larpenteur Avenue and Dieter Street in Maplewood, Minnesota. This was not a random accident or a misunderstanding. It was a planned, intentional attack that would be witnessed by many and recorded on video for the world to see. That evening, two groups had gathered at a nearby park after a long day of social media arguments and violent confrontations in the streets. Hours before this moment, people from both sides had already been involved in gunfire exchanges at other locations in St. Paul. These were rival groups who decided to meet up at Wakefield Park, not far from where the deadly event would happen. Videos from that night show people shouting, threatening each other, and recording the whole scene on their phones. Among those at the park was Zakirrah Ziggy Anderson, a 23-year-old caregiver who was not an active member of any gang. She was there, standing with friends, caught in the middle of a dangerous situation that was escalating. Also present was Ashley Renee Couch, a 34-year-old woman from St. Paul who had a long criminal history. She had been making threats throughout the argument, some of which were captured on video. At one point, she was recorded shouting, "I'll hit y'all's ass," warning the people standing around that she was ready to use violence. After the argument at the park, Couch left the area, but the situation was far from over. Instead of leaving to cool down, she got behind the wheel of a black Dodge Charger and made her way to Larpenteur Avenue, close to where members of the opposing group were now standing near their vehicles. At 9:20 p.m., Couch drove her car at high speed toward a group of people standing on the side of the road. Ziggy and another woman were standing beside a parked vehicle. The street was dimly lit, and bystanders were still filming parts of the confrontation on their phones. Witnesses later explained that there was no doubt about Couch's intentions. She deliberately steered the car in their direction, aiming straight at them. In that moment, there was no time for anyone to react. The black Dodge Charger hit the two women at full force. The other woman was thrown into the air by the impact, landing hard on the ground several feet away. She survived, though with serious injuries. Ziggy was not as fortunate. The front of the car struck her directly, and as Couch kept pressing the gas pedal, Ziggy was dragged under the vehicle for several yards, her body trapped beneath the car as it moved forward. Eyewitnesses later described how the Charger sped off from the scene without stopping. Couch didn't hit the brakes. She didn't turn around. She didn't call for help. After running over two people, she simply drove away into the night, leaving chaos and horror behind her. The entire event was captured on video by multiple people who were present during the attack. These recordings were later shared across social media, quickly spreading awareness of what had happened. The videos clearly showed the Dodge Charger's movement, the shouts of witnesses, and the chilling aftermath as people rushed to help the victims. After the violent incident that claimed Zakirrah Ziggy Anderson's life, the street where the crime took place was left in chaos. Witnesses who had been standing nearby during the attack immediately rushed to help. Some screamed, others cried, but in the middle of the confusion, one thing was clear: help was needed right away. Several people at the scene quickly grabbed their phones and called 911 to report the hit and run. Emergency responders arrived shortly after, but Ziggy was pronounced dead at the scene. The second woman, although badly injured, managed to survive. Police investigators used the video evidence, witness statements, and traffic cameras to track down Ashley Renee Couch. It was a direct case of vehicular homicide, backed by clear video proof and multiple eyewitnesses who confirmed that Couch intentionally aimed the car at the group. While the community was dealing with shock from what had just happened, law enforcement agencies got to work immediately. Officers from the Maplewood Police Department began gathering information from witnesses. People at the scene told police exactly what they saw. Some of them even had video evidence because many were recording the entire altercation live on social media. Those recordings showed clearly that the driver of the black Dodge Charger was Ashley Renee Couch. It didn't take long for police to locate Couch. She had already left the area by the time officers arrived at the scene, but because multiple witnesses knew her personally and because of video evidence, her identity was confirmed quickly. Using that information, police were able to find her later and place her under arrest. Ashley Renee Couch was officially taken into custody and booked into the Ramsey County Jail. Soon after, formal charges were filed against her. Couch was charged with second-degree intentional murder and first-degree assault. These were serious charges carrying long potential prison sentences, and she was found guilty in court. Given the serious nature of the crime and her criminal history, Couch was held on $1 million bail. The high bail amount was set to reflect the danger she posed to the public and her history of violent and criminal behavior. While awaiting trial, Couch remained in custody, with prosecutors preparing the case against her. The legal process moved forward over following months. Evidence against Couch included live video footage from the scene, testimony from multiple witnesses, and physical evidence connecting her to the Dodge Charger used in the attack. There was also an eyewitness statement that confirmed hearing Couch make a threat moments before the crime. The witness recalled Couch yelling, "I'll hit y'all's ass," just before stepping into vehicle and using it as a weapon. With the evidence stacked against her, Couch eventually chose to plead guilty rather than go to trial. In January 2025, Couch pleaded guilty to second-degree unintentional murder and second-degree assault with a dangerous weapon. By pleading guilty, she accepted responsibility for causing Ziggy's death and seriously injuring the other woman with her car. After the guilty plea, Couch faced sentencing. On March 3, 2025, the court sentenced Ashley Renee Couch to 222 months, or 18.5 years, in prison for the murder charge. In addition to that, she received 21 months for the assault charge. The judge ordered that these sentences would be served consecutively, meaning one after the other, not at the same time. That made her total prison sentence 243 months, or 20 years and 3 months. However, because of sentencing rules in Minnesota, inmates typically serve a portion of their sentence in prison and the remainder on supervised release, also known as parole. Ashley Renee Couch had already spent significant time in jail awaiting trial, and with credit for time served plus the parole rules, it was calculated that she would likely spend around 2 more years in actual prison following her sentencing. After that, she would be released under supervision for the rest of the sentence period. In summary, Ashley Renee Couch was held accountable for the crime in the court of law. She received a lengthy sentence on paper, but in practical terms, her time behind actual prison walls would be much shorter. The legal system classified the remainder of her punishment as supervised release, where she would be monitored by the justice system, but allowed to live outside of prison. This outcome led many observers to question whether the punishment was truly enough for the life that was taken. The aftermath of Zakirrah Ziggy Anderson's death was marked by a swift police investigation, a clear presentation of evidence in court, and a guilty plea by the accused. The case officially closed with Couch receiving her sentence, leaving behind questions about justice, prevention, and the tragic reality of how a digital argument turned into a deadly crime. In any functioning legal system, there are rules to keep dangerous people off the streets. These rules exist to protect the public from individuals who repeatedly commit crimes and show no signs of change. In the case of Ashley Renee Couch, those rules were in place, but they were not enforced properly. This failure allowed a violent repeat offender to continue living recklessly, leading to the death of Zakirrah Ziggy Anderson. Ashley Renee Couch should never have been driving on the night Ziggy was killed. At the time of the crime, Couch's driver's license was revoked. This means that by law, she was not allowed to operate a vehicle under any circumstances. Her right to drive had been taken away by the court system because she was considered unsafe to be behind the wheel. However, despite that revoked license, Couch still had access to a vehicle. Not only was she driving illegally, but she was also driving recklessly, knowing fully well that she was breaking the law. The revoked license alone should have been enough for the justice system to keep her monitored or prevent her from gaining access to vehicles. But that did not happen. The problem with this case runs deeper than just a revoked license. Ashley Renee Couch had a long, serious criminal history before she killed Ziggy. She was not a first-time offender. Her record was filled with violent and dangerous crimes. These were not minor mistakes or petty thefts. They were actions that showed a clear pattern of disrespect for the law, safety, and the rights of others. Some of Couch's criminal history includes 6 theft convictions, for disorderly conduct charges, for assault charges, terroristic threats, aiding a drive-by shooting, child endangerment charges, including abandoning a newborn baby, possession of burglary tools, property damage. With a record like that, it's clear that Couch had been given multiple chances by the legal system to change her behavior. Time after time, she showed that she had no interest in following the law or respecting others' lives. Yet she was still free, unsupervised, and able to get behind the wheel of a car. This raises serious questions about how repeat offenders like Couch continue to walk freely in communities. It also highlights one of the biggest weaknesses in the justice system: loopholes and failures in enforcement. The laws were in place. The revocation of her license was on record. Her violent past was documented, but the follow-through was missing. No effective steps were taken to keep her from causing harm again. One of the reasons repeat offenders stay active is the problem of inconsistent punishment. Many times, courts will give probation or lighter sentences for crimes that should result in prison time, especially if the defendant claims to have responsibilities like children or family obligations. In Couch's case, she even had a history of child endangerment. Yet that wasn't enough for the courts to take stronger action against her. Another problem is lack of monitoring. Revoking someone's license does not physically stop them from driving unless they are being actively checked or monitored. Couch was able to drive without fear of getting caught until something tragic finally happened. By that point, it was too late for Ziggy. This case is an example of how dangerous gaps in the justice system can lead directly to innocent people losing their lives. A person with violent crimes on their record and no legal right to be driving was still able to take full control of a moving vehicle and use it as a weapon. The system failed to close the gap between knowing someone is dangerous and actually preventing them from doing more harm. The failure here is not about one mistake. It's about a series of missed opportunities by the justice system to stop Couch before she killed someone. Ziggy's death could have been prevented if the system had treated Couch's history seriously and enforced the penalties properly. Moving forward, cases like this show why laws around repeat offenders need to be stricter and better enforced. When someone has a record of repeated violence, they should not be allowed to continue their life as if nothing has happened. Systems should be in place to prevent access to vehicles. Stricter sentencing should be applied, and monitoring should be required for those who break the law repeatedly. Zakirrah Anderson's death is not just a result of Ashley Renee Couch's choices. It's also the result of a justice system that allowed a dangerous person to keep going until it was too late. The laws failed. The enforcement failed. And because of that failure, a young life was lost. If the story gripped your heart and left you questioning the truth, don't forget to hit that like button and share with others who need to hear it. For more chilling true crime stories that dive deep into the mysteries behind these tragedies, make sure to subscribe to our channel and turn on the notification bell. You won't want to miss our latest updates, investigations, and thought-provoking discussions. Thank you for being part of this journey with us as we uncover the truth and seek justice. Together, we can make a difference. Stay safe, stay aware, and we'll see you in the next one.